Well, I suppose, confrontation with the sudden absence of somebody you're working with, it's bound to make a difference in your life.
Do you find that when your hair gets really big, you gain weight? I've been gaining weight, and I have to lose it. If I get a haircut, you shrink.
At 81, Christopher Walken has finally breaks his silence on about one of Hollywood's longest-standing mysteries, the tragic death of Natalie Wood. For over 40 years, rumors and theories have surrounded the events of that fateful night in 1981. Now, Walken shares his side of the story, shedding light on the events that led to a heartbreaking loss in the entertainment world.
A ticking clock on justice, just days away from the 40th anniversary of Natalie Wood's mysterious death.
For years, actor Robert Wagner has fought rumors that he had something to do with the 1981 death of his wife, the Hollywood legend Natalie Wood.
Legendary actress Natalie Wood. Well, today, pressure is on Wagner to speak with investigators.
What do you think happened to Natalie Wood that night on your boat?
Natalie Wood was one of the most beloved actresses in Hollywood history. Born on July 20, 1938, in San Francisco, she began her acting career at a very young age, landing her first significant role at just 8 years old in the iconic film Miracle on 34th Street, 1947. From there, her career took off, making her one of the most successful child stars of her time. As Natalie grew older, she transitioned seamlessly into adult roles, becoming a major figure in Hollywood during the 1950s and 60s. Her portrayal of Maria in West Side Story, 1961, is perhaps one of her most famous roles, earning her critical acclaim and cementing her place as an icon. Over the years, Natalie Wood's performances earned her 3 Academy Award nominations, a remarkable achievement for someone still relatively young in the industry. In her personal life, Natalie Wood's relationships were just as high-profile as her acting career. She married actor Robert Wagner twice, first in 1957 and then again in 1972 after a brief divorce. Their relationship was often in the public eye, as they were one of Hollywood's most famous couples at the time. They had a daughter together, and while their marriage seemed like a fairy tale from the outside, it was not without its struggles. In 1981, Natalie Wood was filming Brainstorm with fellow actor Christopher Walken. During a break from filming, she, Wagner, Walken, and the yacht's captain, Dennis Davern, embarked on a weekend trip aboard the yacht Splendor. Tragically, this trip would be her last. On the night of November 28, 1981, Natalie Wood drowned near Santa Catalina Island under mysterious circumstances. Her body was found floating in the water the next morning, just a mile away from the yacht. But it wasn't just the tragedy that captivated the world, it was the mystery that followed. The night of November 28, 1981, was meant to be a relaxing getaway for Natalie Wood, her husband Robert Wagner, their friend Christopher Walken, and the yacht's captain, Dennis Davern. The group had decided to spend the weekend on Wagner and Wood's yacht, Splendor, anchored near Santa Catalina Island, just off the coast of California. What started as a quiet evening among friends soon turned into a night that would haunt Hollywood for decades. Earlier in the day, the group had spent time drinking and dining at a local restaurant on the island. Witnesses recalled seeing the group in high spirits, with no indication of what was to come. But, as the night went on, tensions began to rise, particularly between Wagner and Walken. Reports suggest that an argument broke out between the two actors. Wagner allegedly became jealous, believing that Walken was too close to Natalie, and the alcohol-fueled argument escalated on board the yacht. According to accounts, the argument continued as the group returned to Splendor. Wood, feeling uncomfortable with the rising tension, reportedly went to her cabin below deck. While the exact details of the argument remain unclear, It is known that at some point after Wood retreated, Wagner and Walken continued their heated exchange on deck. Witnesses, including Captain Davern, described hearing loud voices from the yacht. The argument may have started over professional differences or jealousy, but the intensity of the fight left a dark cloud over the night. By the time anyone noticed that Wood was missing, it was too late. Wagner later admitted that he had not realized she had left the yacht until much later, when her absence became apparent. Search efforts began, and in the early hours of November 29th, her body was found floating in the water. The official cause of death was listed as an accidental drowning, but rumors quickly surfaced about what happened that night. Some reports suggested that Wood had been trying to escape the argument. Others speculated that she slipped while trying to secure a dinghy that had come loose from the yacht. The bruises found on her body only deepened the mystery, leading many to question if more had occurred that night than anyone was willing to admit. Yet, what happened on that boat is still up for debate. The investigation into Natalie Wood's death began almost immediately after her body was discovered. On the morning of November 29, 1981, authorities found her floating in the water about a mile away from the yacht Splendor. At first glance, the scene seemed to suggest a tragic accident. Natalie had been drinking that evening, and the weather was chilly, with rough waters. These factors led investigators to conclude that she had likely slipped off the boat while trying to secure the dinghy or while attempting to leave the yacht. The coroner's report supported the theory of accidental drowning. It noted that Wood had alcohol in her system and that she had suffered bruises on her arms and legs. However, these were dismissed as injuries from falling into the water. The case was quickly closed, with officials ruling her death as a tragic accident, leaving many to believe that no foul play was involved. The public was stunned. Natalie Wood was not just any actress, she was a Hollywood legend. Her death sent shockwaves through the industry, and media coverage was intense. Headlines around the world reported the loss of one of Hollywood's brightest stars. Fans mourned, and the suddenness of her passing left many in disbelief. However, the initial conclusions didn't sit well with everyone. Almost immediately, questions arose about the true circumstances of her death. How could someone as experienced with boats as Natalie Wood, someone who was known to be terrified of dark water, end up in the ocean late at night? And what about the bruises? Were they the result of a simple fall? Or did they suggest something more sinister? The media frenzy didn't help. Rumors began to swirl, and theories emerged about what had happened on board the yacht that night. Some speculated that the argument between Wagner and Walken had turned violent, while others believed that Wood had tried to escape a domestic dispute. Captain Dennis Davern's vague statements only added to the uncertainty, as he later admitted he wasn't sure of all the details himself. But the questions didn't stop there, and neither did the rumors. Over the years, for more than 40 years, Christopher Walken has remained largely silent about the events surrounding Natalie Wood's death. While he has addressed the topic briefly in a few interviews, Walken has never fully shared his perspective on what happened that night. His reluctance to speak publicly has only added to the mystery, and many have wondered why he chose to keep quiet for so long. Walken's silence sparked endless speculation. Some believed he was protecting his friends, while others thought he wanted to avoid becoming further entangled in the controversy. Since he was on the yacht that night with both Natalie and her husband, Robert Wagner, Walken was inevitably drawn into the web of rumors and theories. Even with the media attention, he chose not to make any significant public statements, which fueled even more curiosity. One possible reason for Walken's silence could be his close relationships with both Natalie Wood and Robert Wagner. Walken and Wood were co-stars in Brainstorm, and they had formed a solid friendship while working together. Walken has always spoken highly of Wood, describing her as a talented actress and a good friend. His friendship with Wagner, on the other hand, was more complicated. The two men were reportedly friendly, but the tensions that arose on the yacht that night likely left a lasting impact. Walken may have been trying to avoid causing further pain to either side by staying quiet. In interviews over the years, Walken has brushed off questions about the incident, insisting that it was a tragic accident. He has stated that there was nothing anyone could have done to prevent it. Some of his reluctance to speak may also stem from the legal and investigative aspects of the case. As a witness to the events, Walken was questioned by authorities, and he may have felt it best to leave the matter to the investigators, rather than discuss it publicly. However, Walken's refusal to engage with the media about the incident only intensified the public's fascination with his role in the mystery. Theories about his involvement or knowledge of what happened grew over the years, with some even suggesting that he was hiding something. Whether it was out of respect for Natalie Wood's memory or to avoid being pulled deeper into the scandal, Walken's decision to remain silent kept him at the center of the speculation. Walken's silence fueled many conspiracy theories, but what does he say now? In 2011, nearly 30 years after Natalie Wood's death, the case took a surprising turn. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department reopened the investigation, spurred by new information provided by Dennis Davern, the yacht captain who had been with Wood, Robert Wagner, and Christopher Walken that fateful night. This development reignited public interest in the tragedy and brought fresh questions to light. Dennis Davern's testimony was central to the reopening of the case. In his initial statements, back in 1981, Davern had largely supported the narrative of an accidental drowning. However, in 2011, he came forward with new claims, stating that he had withheld crucial details during the original investigation. Davern now claimed that there had been a heated argument between Wagner and Wood on the night of her death, which escalated dramatically before Wood went missing. He also suggested that Wagner may have been involved in her fall overboard. These revelations cast doubt on the original conclusion that Wood's death was a tragic accident. Davern's new testimony added fuel to the long-standing rumors that there might have been more to the story than what was initially reported. The Sheriff's Department announced that they would be looking into the case again, with a fresh perspective on the events of that night. Christopher Walken, who had largely stayed out of the spotlight when it came to the investigation, was once again drawn into the case. As one of the few people on the yacht that night, Walken's account of the evening was critical to understanding what might have transpired. Although Walken did cooperate with the authorities, providing them with his version of the events, he continued to maintain that Wood's death was nothing more than a tragic accident. He consistently downplayed any role he or Wagner might have played in the incident, reiterating that Wood's fall into the water was a heartbreaking accident. The reopening of the case put Wagner under greater scrutiny. In 2018, Wagner was officially named a person of interest by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, though no charges have been filed against him to date. Wagner, who has always denied any involvement in Wood's death, faced renewed public suspicion. The reopening of the investigation didn't just put Wagner in the spotlight, it also brought Walken back into the public conversation, as people questioned what role, if any, he might have played that night. As the case reopened, so did the flood of new questions and doubts. After years of avoiding the topic, Christopher Walken has finally broken his silence about the events leading up to Natalie Wood's tragic death. In a recent interview, Walken opened up about that night in 1981, expressing sadness over the loss of his friend, and firmly stating that Wood's death was nothing more than a tragic accident. His statement comes after decades of speculation and rumors, And while Walken's account sheds light on what he believes happened, it hasn't put an end to the lingering doubts. Walken recalled the events of the evening clearly. The group had spent the night drinking heavily and relaxing aboard the yacht Splendor. Tensions were high between Robert Wagner and Natalie Wood, with an argument breaking out between the two at some point in the night. Walken admitted that he tried to stay out of the heated exchange, believing it to be a personal matter between the couple. According to Walken, after Wood left to retreat to her cabin, he and Wagner continued talking on deck, unaware of what was unfolding below. Walken described the moment they realized Natalie was missing as deeply distressing. He and Wagner searched the boat, calling out her name, before realizing she might have fallen overboard. In Walken's account, there was no sound of a struggle or indication of foul play, just the unfortunate realization that Wood had disappeared. He emphasized that the entire situation was an accident, with alcohol, the cold night, and rough water contributing to the tragedy. In his attempt to end the endless speculation, Walken firmly denied any involvement or foul play. He expressed frustration over the persistent rumors that have followed him and Wagner for years, insisting that there was no sinister plot or hidden truth. He stated that both he and Wagner had done everything they could that night once they realized Wood was missing. But the situation was beyond their control. But even Walken's words couldn't stop the investigation from continuing. Although Christopher Walken publicly stated that Natalie Wood's death was a tragic accident, the investigation into the case remains active. The mystery surrounding her death has not been fully resolved, and authorities continue to search for answers. In 2018, Robert Wagner was officially named a person of interest by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, intensifying the scrutiny around his possible involvement in the events of that night. Wagner has consistently denied any wrongdoing, maintaining that he had nothing to do with Wood's death. However, his status as a person of interest has raised serious questions about what may have happened aboard the Splendor. The new information provided by Dennis Davern, the yacht's captain, during the 2011 reopening of the case has further complicated matters. Davern's claims that Wagner was involved in the heated argument before Wood went missing have prompted investigators to re-examine the circumstances of her death. While Wagner has faced the brunt of public suspicion, Walken's involvement has also drawn significant attention. He has cooperated with authorities throughout the investigation, including a private interview with detectives. However, Walken requested that the details of his interview remain confidential, leaving some questions unanswered. This confidentiality has only added to the intrigue surrounding the case, as many wonder what Walken might know that he has chosen not to share publicly. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department has stated that the case remains open, though no new charges or significant breakthroughs have been announced. The ongoing investigation has kept Wood's death in the headlines for years, with each development sparking renewed interest. Walken's efforts to bring closure by calling the death a tragic accident haven't fully convinced investigators or the public. The bruises found on Wood's body, Davern's shifting testimony, and the inconsistencies in the accounts of that night have kept the case shrouded in doubt. So, where does the case stand now, and will we ever get the full truth? Today, at 81, Christopher Walken remains a prominent figure in Hollywood. His acting career, which has spanned over 5 decades, continues to thrive. Known for his eccentric roles and distinctive voice, Walken has appeared in numerous films and television shows, maintaining his status as one of the most versatile actors in the industry. From his memorable performances in The Deer Hunter to more recent projects like The War with Grandpa, Walken has managed to stay relevant in a constantly changing film landscape. Beyond his career, Walken has led a relatively private personal life. He has been married to casting director Georgianne Than since 1969, a relationship that has lasted for over 50 years. The couple decided not to have children, a decision Walken has explained was largely due to the demands of his acting career. Although Hollywood can be a challenging environment, their marriage has endured, and Walken continues to live a quiet life with his wife when he's not working. The controversies surrounding Natalie Wood's death have not diminished Walken's popularity. He remains beloved by fans and respected by his peers. His ability to captivate audiences with his unique performances has solidified his place as a Hollywood icon. While the mystery of that fateful night in 1981 continues to follow him, it has not overshadowed his remarkable career. Walken has managed to maintain his reputation as a dedicated actor, committed to his craft. However, Walken's silence on certain aspects of the case has left some lingering questions. Despite breaking his silence recently, there are details he has chosen to keep confidential, fueling further speculation. His decision not to publicly address every aspect of the investigation has kept some elements of the story hidden, leaving parts of the public and media unsatisfied. Christopher Walken's statement may have offered some answers, but the mystery of Natalie Wood's death still lingers. With the investigation ongoing, many questions remain. Do you believe it was a tragic accident, or is there more to the story? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into Hollywood's greatest mysteries.